Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will be teaching you on the topic of BEGAE 182 program and on the topic of the communication process. And I do not know how many of you, of my viewers, are good enough in understanding my lectures in English. So, already three of you have already in the meeting, and so if possible I will also explain it to you in Mizo also, and most of the time, and if my viewers are the speaker of Mizo language, and if you are more comfortable with Mizo language, I will also most of the time give a lectures in Mizo language. All right. And for most of the time, if you have a problem, you can utilize the chat box here at the corner of your screen. You will be able to find it. Because tunahan viewer hey kanlo om venwal tranta a kalo trananga ka viewer se hi saptrong thiam lo hanti maila saptrong a comfortable lo zok nge in ya mizo trong comfortable zok nge ni kha ka shelowa chu wangchan atlang pui tuin mizo deuh vek kan ni tura kangaya chu wangchan mizo tongin ka soibo kanga chuan mizo trong shathiam lo kan omani chuan ka chat box ate motepo kan in shil anga. And if there are a non-Mizo speaker, please do report yourself in the chat box, and so I can explain it to you in English as well. English po kalau so ite na turatan kan chat box ahian kan lo in report doon niya. This one, and today's topic is going to be the process of communication. First of all, I would like to ask you how many people are involved in taking or in conducting a communications. Communication ni turyan mi engzatal nge ngai la yakha. So imagine yourself as talking to yourself. Nang male nang maka in beturin ngai taila. The onlooker, which are people who are staying a little bit far away from you. Nang mala atranga lo clear to tsekan chuan tataka clear to tsekan. If you are talking to yourself, mi ani hi antimi don cheni mani le mani chuan communication hi nei the ani lo chumi ni chuan communication na chuan there has to be at least two persons involved. Mi pani tal kha angai ta ni chu mom chuan mani chau chuan communication na kha kan nei the lo achan chu ka soi le soi no kai ma hian ka tong tamul mul ta a chuan ma se min ngai thatu emo kasira khatiang angkha an omte ani lo chuan the ka hlata ka tanga min lo thlir tu tan chuan chunu chu anyang amai nen ba mol mai min ti don ani chumi ni wang chuan communication kan ti reng chuan in biak na in biak po na nei tur chuan atlem bera mi pani tal kan angai ti na ni chu so chumi wang chuan the Bithiam te chuan communication is a two-way process an lo ti thina ni mo communication two-way process an lo ti thina ni chu ti chuan in order to make a conversation chuan conversation nei thei tur hian enge ngai ta because we need to speak the same language first of all ama sabera chuan in bethei tur communication nei tur chuan trong kanin shat po ton kha angai ta ni mo chan trong kanin shat po ton angaya trong kanin shat po ton lo chan communication na kha a fail le ngal phota kan du zong te kan ngai na zong ate kha kanin share thei don ta lo ani chu mo chuan chu wang chuanin pakhat na chuanin trong in angai ta ni ma say for an example, if you need to speak to somebody to emonika ibia kha alo ngai ngoi se I communicate ta kha ngai sia ingtin mo relation kha isiam kha lo ngai ta sia chu ta chuan ingtin nge yang trong kha in she thiam ta lo bok ta si cha te ta ula engtiang in nge in biak po ta kang ti kha lo ni ta ne example me pakhat ka han pe nga hindi trong thiam lo kha lo ni taila mase hindi trong ka communicate kha ngai box sia ingtin nge ka tiang chu ti huna chuan engin yang gesture theory kan tiang chi te kan lo mang ta thina ni chuan amma sa chuan in gesture theory te emo chi shang pose sang chi te nakina elements of communication ka soi guna kan la sha chiang tura ngai tai la khatyang khan tong po thiam lo ma ila kan kut kan zai zir mang khan kan facial expression zong zong te mang khanin mi kha ka du zong kha ka vashil ve the tho ta ni I ka tuya lo halta a entina na tui ka lo kok ta he ta hianin I have a water bottle with me chon tuwe mo hne na khanin tui ka du kha ka ti do na mizo tong kha lo thiam box si lo water bottle ka koka ka kut mangin ka ti khan ka han ti vela ta chon gesture theory kha ka lo mangta a lo sha thiam mai do na ni tuya du ani hi ti khan ma se at least two persons sa chu kan o mangai ti kha kan thei hin lo do na nya ti chuanin antina na adang lia chuan pathian nen kan in biak don ti hian engtinie kan lo ti le tong trai mangin pathian kan be thin ta chu ta chuan engtinie kan ti thin kan mit kan chinga ti chuan concentration kha kan ne thina chu ta chuanin concentration kan nia ari ina mo changin kan tong trai masakha chu pathian kha chu exceptional ani mo pathian kha chu exceptional ani ya kharawani tlatawang khanin pathiana kha chu achangin ari ten kan bia achangin full concentration mangte khan kan be china ta chon min chan na kha ke mani hian atak takin pathian chan na kan mu kan ti hian do we have a proof ti te po ka question om theng chu mom ti chuan ma set tuemo khan amit kha achinga I concentration level ka sang do khana va pe ya ma se kha mi wang khanin enge pathian ne na atong try ti na kha ani kher chuang lowa chu ta chuan amale ma kha ein communicate ni lowin thinking power kha ne mei zo kani chu wang chan communication nei tur chuan mi patni kan theng hil mia lo tur chu mi patni kan tel nge ngai ni so what will be the elements of communication or what are the elements of communication stika ka han soi le don ni chuma ti chuanin first of all pakhat na hi chu shat ve nge tur nak in le khabu po om vek thawanga chuan pakhat na elements of communication na hianin point rukvel kan zir thina pakhat na chuan communication involves at least two persons pakhat chu enge the addresser and of the addressee kan ne ni addresser ka ti chu tu na hian min ngai thatu te hi tu na hian inron pung ta tial tiala kalom hleya tun din huna hian mi som pathum vel ka address mek chuwa chon thu soi tu hi mo the speaker hi addresser kan ti chu ni meita addressee te chu min lo ngai thatu te khan ni ta ni nang ni hi ngai thatu mi min lo om lo ta ulang chuanin ka chu mani inbia mi anglo kha kan mei dona mai ro chu tu na chuan ngai thatu ka lo nei chuwa chu communication process a khan apoi mo te me mani pakhat na in lo chin cha nge tur communication involves at least two persons that is number one is the addresser to soi tu keima I first person I hi to soi tu hi pakhat chuan ka addresser kavabia ka tekha kha antel tani chuan communication nei tur chuan pahni le na elements of communication na pahni na chuan the topic content or the content of the message khangai tani tuna hian nangni hote ne na in betur hian topic khan kan ne ya chu enge ni kan thu pui soi la ya chu the process of communication ti ka soi me ka for an example chu tiang cha chuan mi ne na ti tur hian mi ne na bin in biang biak na nei tur hian content thu pui itimeng message kha kan ne angai thine ni kha idam mo kan ti ang chi ringot te po kha mo gesture ang chi kha mi salutation kan ne ang chi te kha alo ngai ta thine ni I chong communication process a poi mo patni kan zauta pakhat na chuan mi patni emo ai ta me mon ni turani patni na chuan topic kan nei turani ti khani a pathum le na chuan channel anya chu the medium through which the message has been delivered mo tun din muna chuan vocal ka mga pakhat na chuan intinya nang mani ne na yang karon communicate chu kan means of communication or the channels a chuan tun din huna chong ka vocal cord kalo mga ka ori in ngai tha a ma se face to face in kan line muthelowa face to face in kan in muthelowa you can only see my face ka mail chau in mu thei but I can't see your face nang mani mail ka mu thei lo chuwa chumi a chon ing channel nge kala man le tak tuna chon internet facilities ka manga ti chuanin hei ngen yang YouTube live mangin karon beta chuwa chon example a chuan channel example kan ni me ka chuan YouTube live a hi kan mangle mek boka chuan chumi ti thei tur chuan ing channel nge kan la nei laptop emo mobile phone se mote kan la nei alangai le zela chumi ti thata ka wak tur chuan current socket te po he angai le zel ta ni mo khatyang khan chu chu chung zong zong chu channel ani ma se classroom ang tura ngai don tai la classroom a chuan I can see with my students or with face to face khan ka mu theita chumi a chuan enge ka man my body language also will be one of the channels of this means of communication satana ka body language te po alo po imoa and my voice should be clear enough chuan chu tiang cha chun whiteboard ka nei te lo nga ya tin marker te po ka nei alo nga ya duster ang si te po ka lo nei alo ngai ta zelani then if the classroom is too big I will need a kind of ang loudspeaker ang si te po ka kamamo alo ngai don ta ni khatyang zong zong ka so what are other means John tun like kan no pan view like kan chuan letter te po kha kanin thon china that is also means of communication ani chuan letter kanin thon tun like ko vela chuan electronics age a kanam ta ka wangin email te po kanin thon ta a khang zong zong po kha channel of communication ami ani if I am too fast please do type it in the chat box chat box a khan soi rang lu kani chuan in lo tai panga ti chuan min sha thathei lo ani point chat box a khan in lo tai panga chuan repeat le ro khalai khatya repeat tura min du na lai po chat box a khan in lo mangdon ya ti chuan another thing another example telephone in hey mobile phones kan nei far lama ta chuan in whatsapp mang ta pon message ang khan ito tuna chuan letter tak tak in a form of letter khan ito lowa electronic mail te kan lo nei to ta ni ti chuan in electronic mail te kan lo nei to a tin chu chu po ni lovin I enge telephone conversation tuna chuan huna tengin champhai po ka be thei to nga sai ha ta sia ha te po ka be thei nga he ta vai reng te tiang khan mun sang sangami te kha telephone mangin kan lo bethei to bok ani mo chan telephone satya ori chau po ni lun tuna po ka melin muta khang zong zong kha the channel of communication kan ti chu ni ta ni chuan and we got the code pa adang lia chuan apalina chuan code kan ni angai ta ni code chuan the language of the message kha mo tuna chuan in since most of my listeners are mizo tuna min lo ngai thatu te hi mizo atamzo kan ni ta ka wangin ka code of language ha chuan mizo tong kalo manga ma says since we are learning English language I am using an English language as well English strong ta po khati khan kalo mangkop ta bok ta chu chu ka code of language chu alo ni ta ni ma se that code ka the code ka ngai ta chin ta ni chu ma ka coding ka unless and until you decode it ma John unless and until you decode it you cannot understand it for an example decoding a chuan in enter na picture ta po in mo fo training karinga ti chuan he picture hian enge ni soyatum ti ang chi kha in enge ti kha atoi zong in electric ban electric post anga te khanin he luru skull lem le ban ru in cross lem te khain mu china chu chu enge ni omzia in shevek danger sign ani ti khain sha I decode ti na ni chu kha coding kha te chuan he traffic te po kan kal fo ta he aizola te po lo om chan ta traffic light te a sen ani chuan stop sign ani ti kha kan lo she ta maya chu decoding alo poi mo zia chu chuan a engani chuan slow a shingani chuan kal thei khatyang khan thu kha min communicate tur khan kha a decoding kha ka sha thiam si lo chuan kha message khan omzia anei lo ni normal language khan ka ti si lo chuan mo entina na athu in zakela kalro tiringot taila le khachar thiam mi lo mute person te pon lo om thea tong thei mi lo te tin illiterate people te pon lo om theita chu wang ta chun symbolism ang chi te pokha kan lo mangta achu traffic ka pe chon mang na salutukta ti chuan khami decode kha ngai ta normal language ka ron da le che khan decoding ti kan ti chu lo ni ta ne chu chu palina trong ka makaron le lin chia khan ti chuan elements of communication apanga na turata na chuanin engin yang the message form kha message form kha ka thu soi tur ka inform ngi kha apoi mo le tani like some kind of a particular grammar or a kind of lexical choices to pictorial method nge ka mandona chong ka method nge ka mandon kan ti ang chi ka message form kha mo formal message nge ka mandona informal message nge ka mandon katiang zong zong ka message form ka kan nei tani chuan and we have the setting kan nei chu a setting a kan tu na han chong classroom setting ania social and physical settings sa umta tun din huna han chon virtual setting kan mang mekta ka mel chau in huwa tak takin min khoi theilawa ka mel chau in hu ni nang ni phe phe chu in mel ka mu theilo chu ni chu very sad ma chuan chon chu chu ma se chu tun lai kho vela kan no ma wangin means of communication hi alo ul sam ta hle mai ani mom chu tikhanin elements of communication na kha in shethiam tura ka ngai in shethiam em le in thiam chon yes ti emo o ti emo tal kha chat box a khanin lo da ula ka lo mo tang sumi chung chuanin approve na tura tan thalak te nga ya ka mel lai puite hi ka lo lang chu à in shethiam alom khop me in shethiam lo ka apoya uh, just hold on thala ka proof na ka nei velo ka ngaya chuan chu te ni chuan kan kakal le nga langa barriers to communication kan nei tani mo barriers to communication barriers ti chu bang cha tak ti na kha ni mei ta a ti chuanin chu symbolism emo imagery emo nga ate khan ngai tai la symbol pakhata ngai tai la a linguistic term kati ayeng lo tak chuan a literary term tak chuan mang tai la barrier somja chu bang cha pui khalo ni ta sela tuna po physically min in mu thelo na bang cha pui kha ta a i chongka nge ya chongka nge ya nang mani kha mai chana nge han mu chuwa in shethia mem han ti po yes ti type ngai lowa o shethia me ti type ngai lowa thei tu rakha communication na ma se ka permit kan ni ta si lawa chu wang chuanin typing method te kha kan lo hang ta ni chuanin barriers to communication sa chuan communication process kan nei na tura ta na kan nei na tur min dal tu kha barriers chu ni mai ta ni communication chat communication chataka kan nei tur kan nei thailo na chana kha mo communication chataka min nei tir tu tur kan nei thailo na chana kha barriers to communications kan ti chu ni ta mai ta ni ni kan sha thia mang chu mo chuan tuna nang ni le ke ni hi kanin betamol mola virtually ni ma se current hi ta thut pal ta se kan chede rani chu one means of barriers to communication so lo ni le ta ni chu mo chat internet signal hi han chalo le pal fai ta se that is also another means of barriers to communication so alo ni ta ni chu but fortunately do na chan signal ta po thatak kan nei ta internet signal kan nei cha current kan nei cha chu wang chan kan communication process hi thatakin kan kalpui thei ta ni van lo mom te lo mom in ti ve ka be se mo chuan lo moment ti ve nge ka be se ya chuan enti ma atak takin hanin mu thei le phe phe la chuwan nuam don te lu lem ti khani nang mani ka in bula in chung te in chan te an lo thu em ka shelawa chu ta chuan emo te khan an lo ti buai pal thei cheu ni chu ni chin lo ka kai ma po kam interruption chete oma khatyang ang zong zong ka it comes under the barriers of communications achiang em le Attention, yes, tal mo, thumbs up tal mo kamin lo da sak chenula. I will be really very happy and glad. So, like there has been a kind of saying that communication can never be 100% complete. Mo 100% in communication he a complete lawan ti chinani. So nang mani po ka hanin zo chinula ask yourself. Tikang ka biya athina lo rim dei mole. That is not what I mean. Te inti chin ka tuman imya lawa mase aloman thiam lawa ka thu soya ka aloman thiam lawa athina lo rim dei mole. Te inti ve chinin ka ring nang mani po yan. Emo chonin engen yang akwat po ka lo ring lawa mase akhode mole. Di ang chi te ka inne ka ring mo chonin ama ka praise ka tumna lama I choi moi ka tumna lama ma se ani chuan chu ti zong chuanin enge alo la ta dei sia min ngei dei mole ti ang chi te kha alo chuak ve china chu chu engwang nge mo engwang me coding sender le sender ka ti chon speaker hi ke ma hi speaker ka lo ni ta chu chu sender kan ti boka addressee po kan ti bok chin ta a chu mi te chuan I kan thiam enge nyang kan lo in alo ngai thatu listener emo kan addresser te ne na ka ti kan addressee te ne na kan vain man thiam tok lo chin wang kha alo ni ta mai ani chu mo chu chu ko ta kha ngai ta chin ta ni chu. So, like many factors are involved in the process of communication, and something can always go wrong with one or one of these. Mo, ang tine mo kan communication minti buhay tayo ka kung tam takaom like from your own experience kaso itong kan nang mani kan and try to make a list of where your communication has gone wrong mo inbial pate inbial no teniente po inintibuayan law ti tao bera eng wange we do not know mo kaka inin man fulo na laya ka communication in man fulo na laya ka eng wange kaka kan nang mani kan low list ve chin shim to so that we might be able to discuss this again in our next class mo kan next class apo kan discuss tema na. So let us consider a kind of barriers which could hamper our communications. Kan communication min dal the to barrier len pui te hi kong sang a soilo tum don tai la pakhat na chuan coach kan nei ta ni china ka soi che ka. So the addresser kay mali nang ni the addressee may not share the same language between them. Pakat na chun same language kan nilo animate ya. So fortunately now for the time being tundin muna chan nang ni chang kathusoy in shetay tata so you don't have a problem. Masay imagine yourself as being talking to somebody imagine yourself as being somebody who cannot talk in English. English sa trong thailawa kan nang makahanin ngay tala for an example and so English sa trong thailawa in ngay la so but you need to talk to somebody who is a speaker of an English sa trong mangge nge kabyak batum don tala ihan buhay na sagdan turzia so or ni sina po kaso ito hindi trong biyak ngay kalotas kay so katsevek don ni mo hindi trong abiyak ngay kalo omta sa katiam lo na sa ro so there has been a big barriers. In siya tiyamem, kavabiak tura kan trong dang mizo trong tiam lo bokse, English tiam lo bokse, hindi zau kalau tiam si se, kain hindi bak ka tiam si lo, English le mizo bak hindi ka tiam bok si lo, communication na kam, ahar sa ti mayani. Mo, itoan ahar sa ta maya, barrier liam puy alaw amtani, so kavabiak tura nin kam, ichuanin chu engtinie kan overcome ang ti te po kha nakina chuanin kanin englo donani chuan even if tihang kan ti ang mother tang chu mizo chonga ni ta ka lo mang thiam ta ta a chuan ma se tuna po like I am the speaker of an English strong kha ka lo thiam ta a ka lo mang ta a ma se vocabulary ka thiam tam tok lo awanga ka soi tum ring soi thei lo kha tam ta ka don ta ni. You got it? You got my point? So, vocabulary ka siya tiyam tok lo avang kan. Mon, so wang chuanin harsat na kaalo omle chin. So wang chuanin, if you are the speaker, let us say, if you want to speak in English also, you have to be very familiar with different kinds of vocabulary. Mo trong kambung ruat shang wat shang ka chata ka trong theitur chang kan thiam tam alo ngai boktani. So concepts to shang kan lo ne ta chu concept pa chon ni china ka soi zwa china technical and subject specific concept ka lo om chin ta ni ti chuanin ngen yang itu soi tu rakha I concept pa kami in alo man lo ni chuan tin nge inin ba fu te lulang mo entina na so khalo la te atia ma se Frichan honga sa lak chwa tur may amutalawa asira ngapi alak chwa si chuanin no papuan in swal boy lowang ti tunge soi the ค่ะako na te ako akha ya kha kan vain shat for ngai chu chon kan vocabulary thiam tama poi mo ja kha alang ngala ni chu mo so du na cha pa batar khamin lo lak te fridge changin india butter ni la khonge ati reng b u t t e r t in za ka mu ma lo wa azon kwa char chuanin nu chuanin fian pui ne na thok chok lawang ti kha a soi thei to lawani chu wang chuan we have to know it mom chuan chu ka kon ka tuma khang ka chian ngai ni mom and tinana korthar ilo dua for an example concept achan korthar idua korthar ka du e mai minlo levete ti khan chung ta bula emo khan kan soi ngam chia lo ta kan pe he kwa oi ka chanu in ka cham pa in korthar amoi za ka od velu tu ka ti thil man har mi tan phe chong korthar ilo od veti kha she don lo reng so wanjan concept kami khalaya khan barriers lian hui lo the ni chu chapali ma mo ta oi ka chapal chu wan hui to ro ve outdated iti ya I chan pa in asha thiam chong si lo chuan in tin nge tiang nu mui kha chu tlang tek tin abok to don ti na ni chu mo thin rim na khan al to do na ni chu wanjan concept kha kan sha chian angai china ka thu soi tum ma kha tun din muna pong ka soi tum ber chu barriers to communication ka soi me ka soi la ya hian in lo man si lo chuan ka concept ka in man lo ti na kha lo ni kha tiang cha khan ala chiang zelem in la man thei zelem chiang zel tu ra ka ngai chuan chuan adang lia chuan barriers to communication sa hian background knowledge le shared assumption hi lo om ta china chuan in min ti buai na se em chin bok ti kha sheta ila background issue antina na example may pakhathan pe la mi ne na tangin mi chanchin kha ilo chiar ta ilo sheta a so no su chu oi allergia emo a felem lo in chung khur che ta po a chok lu tuk chu ti kha in lo sheta cheu mai ta a ti chu I bek chanin chu ta chan communication na kha aron nei pui don ta che alo khat tra to emo mirela sha lu tuk so no su chu ti chan nang ma khan ilo film khu right to mai the ni so no su chu a sort temper lutuk I engen yang a few sa hi atoy lutuk enga mo tilekin tila apuak dur nga lang a hawang che to me preconceived ideas to ilo nei ta chu wang chanin kha person ne na khanin communication ne ka har ta chat me ni ilo in veng run to do na I feel free don to lo ti na ni chu chan communication nei tur cha thatak nei tur chan preconceived ideas kan ti te hi assumption lo nei lok ang chi te hi a fu lem lo hle ani mo ani che lo kal leng a thil dang soi tur po she lowang mo anin chung khur chan chin bak soi tur she lowang in ti theilu tu emo ani khi chu self engen yang self appraisal ang chi mani in choi moi char thin an ya ti ang chia preconceived ideas emo assumption emo in lo nei ta a melen reng son assumption a melen reng son aswal shimang ang chi a mel en reng son a fel shim ang chi katiang ang assumption kan lo nei lok na sat thin awang khan ingen yang kan knowledge kha khami an khan knowledge khan communication chatak kan nei tur kha ati che thin bok ani te chuanin adang le chuan barriers om le theina pakhata chuan pronunciation and like intonation kan ti te accent kan ti te stress in spoken language shima kha sometimes it may not be understood ma shat thiam lo na hei mi zo tonga chuan lei kan ne ya bai mo chuan engen yang lei kan ne ya artang ti chuanin engen yang lei kan nei boka art khangte kha lamrik dana khan a fel fai tok lo chuan he ta khan ka soi tu makha mi inan lo she theidon lo thin ani chu mo kami kha kan pronunciation te ka ton athluk na tura ka thluk accentuation na mo ari ka ti san na tura ka ti sangem ti ang chi te mo chan stress patan te ka pe thatok athluk ang tur tak takin ka soyam khang zong kha ka soi lo chuan mi in kami na kha ka thu soi tu makha an lo shelo pal theita a chu wang chuan barrier lian pui kan lo nei theile ta ni adang lia cultural specification sa umta barrier point da nga chuan cultural specification chuan in misunderstanding alo te chu culture mizo culture kan neya kan mizo identity chuan intinye kan tiang tlong na kan soilar ema mizo identity chuan tlong na hi is it only for the mizo people it might not mo mizo ay tlong nga yan tam khop mayang chu amara chu ka culture chuan in I engen yang lusun ko har in hem chi te kan lo ni ta tin enge in chan pui nam te kan lo ni ta tin ti ti khom nuam ti mi tak khi kan lo ni boka mi zo te chu other culture khan chon alo ni lem hlei lova mani lo tam tak te po khan lo oma kan ei du zong te po lo in ang lo mi zo chom bai te tlak te kan ngai na em sa umbol ti ang te kan ngai na em chuan ma se other culture chuan spices te kha chi sang sang kha an lo ur ta de ta chuan chu tiang ringu ta po chuanin alo har sa ni tin mi zo te phe chu in po lop te kan chinga namdang mu phe chu na moi lo na chung hiam ke mani culture mi pale mai cha te po chu tiang in ma om lovin in nai tak ten kan kho sa fo maya haka namdanga chuan alo ni lem lo wa conservative tak tak te po an lo om thei ani mo ke ni na kan va beng thora khatiang ang chi te kha an lo du ve lo thei ani chu khatiang kan cultural specification kan identity min ti chuak thei tu zir kham kan communication barriers kha alo om ve thei ani mo chuanin mase adaptability kha communication that tak nei tur chuan adaptability kan nei alo ngai ta ni mo chuan chumi kanin adapt thei don lo ni chuan in rem lo na kha alo don ani hey cross cultural marriage te kan rama po kan huna sa ta ema namdang nei te ana sa ta ema khang ho tan phe khan chuan adaptability level kha asan hle angai ani chuti lo chu in rem lo na in mu thiam lo na kha alo chuak ta wat chin ani jan khamichin kha kan la sha thiam em kan la sha thiam zel tura ka ngai a chuan adang lia chuan physical environment naka in order to have a very good communications process of communication singa in order to have a very good communications without any kinds of barriers in between we need to have a kind of physical a good physical environment kanni angai and fortunately for myself I am now alone in a very big room in kema in kaoma so there is no one who could disturb me tu ma min ti boy the tu nam lo I do not know at your end nang manila makhan ingang har sat ngin ne ka shilova phone atangin earphone in ngai thange nya ruma muchungin in ngai thange tok vera da ka thingpui in chungin in ngai thange I do not know mo hey lunch ete a khuna chen tan chon thingpui in hun te nya khatya khananya na thok in supaten min ngai thange ka shilova ni chuan ma se my expectation tunahan kan kanin communicate atak tak yan communication hi kan timek ta chuanin chumi min dal thei ke malama chon tundin muna chon har sak na kanelawa nang ma ni lama khan ka thu soi hi in lo ngai thlak that the nan eng ang har sat na nge lo o makha ka shelowa in physical environment kha chon tuna ka har sat na lian ber chu ka thang lo ka motor tlan ri char char tam lu tu ka hi ni mai ta ni a kind of noise and other environment or a kind of other disturbances teka avoid thak mani like even physical distance tunahan physical distance kan nei mek ta so atak tak khan ka mu thei si lo chuwa atak tak khan min lo ngai thla try em kha ka sha thei bok si lo chuwa chu min ti ha to ni chu mo min barriers min siam sak to ni chu mo so once to have an effective communication effective lutuk chalutuk ka communication ni tur chuan what I hope and what I expect from you is whether you have the ability of listening to me more so that I can keep my trust in you. Ka trust sa tsawa ka to na chon rin ngam na kanay tani. Nang ni hiyan, rin na ka law na ka rin ngam na tsaw ka inbo pel chuan kan communication ka physical environment barrier lian puy kan na iti nani me in law rin law chuan. Mo, in law rin law chuan barrier lian puy ka kan na ya tsu physical environment property ya kan alaw tel ngalan ito kan siya tiyam tura ka ngaya. Chuan honesty mod nang chu honesty te kain lo ni angai bok ta a chuanin in shithiam tak zet ani chang ka shithiam e in lo ti tak zet chuan in lo shathiam tak zet zet a kha ka be se shim bok ti kha ti ta ila chuan adang lia chuanin other effective fixtures chuanin mo personal affective no effective ni lovin affective factors zo chuanin chuta chuan personal factors lo omveta tu tundin muna chuan nobody is disturbing me kat hinlung ka ngai to naka feel free ta I do not have any kind of fear or I do not have any kind of anxiety or khatyang ang chi shim min ti buai thei tu khato na hyang ka nei lawani so wang chuan my lectures is also ngen yang it is not hampered by any kinds of other factors, affective factors. Sa kakane shi la wani chu tun din huna chuan chuan ma said only there has been a slight affective factors that I had is that whether you will be listening to me properly or not. Nang ni hau kanin minlo ngai thla chatak takangem ti chia la ya ka factors sa chun affective factors kane me ka chu alo ni ta ne ti chuan chu nang mania pokan han tiula anxiety nang inri rukap tat tu om chuan inri rukap tat tu om chuan ibulami tenen kan inbiak dana kha afu lovang thinrim na inei po in ibulami tenen kan inbiak kha akal tuang thei lovang mo chuan chu nya hei tun lai ko vela chon soi nu mobile phones kan nia mi ten kan sira min bemol ol chungpon kan phone ti hang kan bi san ngar chin ta haka afel lo hle mai ni chu mo chu chang communication akha ati fel fai thei lowa ati tha thei ngai lo reng ti kha kan sha ta tan acha o me chung te chu affective factors a hian alo om don ani affective factors wang chunga hian alo om don ani chu attention ka pek thathe lo na zong akha affective factors chu ni mai ta ni chung zinga chon ni sina ka suyang khan mobile phones te pon yang chu tin tu na hian communication nang ni yang kan nei me ka in sira khanin bo I local te lo ti tu pol chu kha in tong mai thea ka shelowa khang zong akha it comes under the affective factors ani chu achiang em le achiang em chang tura ka ngai ti chuanin ti khanin kha zong kha han ti mai la hun kan langa a chan zo ka soi rang luk tu kem ka soi ran lu tuk chuan tlemin slow ro lo diula Ole, thank you so much. I got a very good feedback in lo chiang kaloma. So just let me just go through it once again. Atira Changkhan, Atira Changkhan. What is how many people has to be involved in order to have an effective communication? Communication chatak na ituryan, or in order to run a communications, at least how many people needs to be involved? Mi exact nge kan mamokha lo type le to chat box khan. At least how many people? Two or more. More, at least two. Yes, thank you so much. And lo ngai sa trakalom le mai. Thank you so much. At least two people needs to be involved. Ika kan shet tani. Chuanin chuanin anile. Can you just tell me what are the elements of communication? Communication elements how te ka minhan shille theyem ha ron type le dial in lo type le dial theyem. Elements of communication akan ang masabira tungi omngai ka or ingi omngai ka. Very good. Ang masabira chuan addresser kantia tu soy tu hi sender emo kay a omngi ngai chu ang masabira in shi thiamem adodlia tungi omle ngai addressi ki ni tani mo ka checkbox sa inron type addressi ka kavabiak tura te khan omangai chuan ma se mi pani ka omringot ma se thupui vai turan nei si lo khan chanin communication ka a hlo thing theilowa chuan chanin an thupui vai tur message ka an nei angai ta ni chon chu message chu I han pasta a written form in mo spoken form in mo ziak mangin mo spoken form in mo ka angai ta I encode ta phota encoding a chu ivada ta phota ziak mangin mo chongin mo ta chon alo dong tu tur a receiver ka va address a khanin alo don thiam alo decode thiam a kha ngai ta ni kan chat thiam dan tur chan tro alo decode ta kha ngai a decode chet lo chan in soi boy na po thleng lawang ti tu nge soi the mo kha zong zong ka elements of communication sa chon apoi mo ani chon receiver atak tak kha lo om to don ani su chu address ya kha alo shat thiam cha chan kan communication process kha afu in alo cha ti na ani me ta ni chu mo tin ka soi tong khan a setting te po kha apoi mo ve nga ya ka topic te chan chan ka channel te po ne nga ya mo ma se nganang process of communication a model a chuan a ma sabera chuan sender kan ni nga ya message kan ni nga chu message chu encode phot angai it should be in the written or the spoken form ani nga ya chuan chu alo ngai tu tur to zo ka khan alo decode ve le kha angai ta ni chuan whiteboard te hanom se hanza vel te po cha ko mani chumo chuan receiver kha kan nei kha alo ngai le ta ti na ni chu ti chuan kha kha lo nia kha kha in che thiam tura ka ngaya chung chu elements of communication huang chung ami chu lo ni ta ni ma se kan min sa kan written le spoken kan ne ya chu written formation na tan kan chanela chon pen te kan momo a le khapuan te kan mamo a mo chan eng thatak te po kan lo mamo ang chu khatyang ang zong zong te kha ani chuanin dun muna chuan enge spoken form ka mga ka spoken form a po verbally in ani may pialama virtual image in kanin be meta kang zong zong po ka channela atel ti kha ka han repeat le zoka this one barriers to communication sa khan so encoding te decoding te kha kan nei angaya physical health himo barriers to communication zinga poi mo ber pakhat zinga mini chu ka soi me che palom affective factors zinga hang kan soi tel zau na chu ka physical health hi achata ngai ni if I do not have a good health Trisel na chatak ka nei lo chong communication hi a lo ting the ngai lo ti kha kan shat tel angai mo chu physical good ni china affective factors ka ti zinga khan atel theyang chu ti khan in she chiang ani chuan ka kal son le them adanga ka kal son le them all right takal le theya chuan chi sang tun kha chu personal communication just a simple means zok ania excuse me chuan heta formal the in communication ne te khalo ngai ta tun kha chu just a simple means of communication engtinge a process a khalo ni ta se in zo na alo chuak mai thei chin hai hi exam na polo chuak ve fo in ka sia zo downward and upward and horizontal communication hi enge ni ti la ya kha mo what is downward and what is upward and what is horizontal communication no a chuk zong te a chau zong te a phei zong te chu communication chu inge ni ti hi in zer lai buina so ya a ma amia kha in sheto boka chu wa chang ka kal son theya ka nga ya chuanin companies have to communicate with outside agencies and other companies at ka and low in biak chinangaya and like government and private bodies kan ti ang chite akan intini and in biak chin through newspapers or through advertisement or through manufacturers etc or like machineries kan ti building supplier kan ti goods and services like clients and customers song song ang site ka atam luto so how do they communicate to each other like ka poi mo tane so mo like there is also a need to communicate within the company itself ate so in like communication between our superior and our subordinate ang site ka tane hey do na po office chunga ka chuta I have my subordinate along with my superior teka an umtani. So there has to be a kind of a good connections to each other. In order to make a good working environment, I need to communicate with my superior and I need to communicate with my subordinate. Because subordinate then kan chatta ka communication chakan ni angay ka superior tanin po sulai su intin nge kaniyang from higher to lower so kan nuai ka ayan nuai nung zok ta ka intin nge treatment ka lo pek chin le ti ang chite chu life shim ayan nun shim ayan kan zir atak tak ka kan zir ngai ni mo nun shim ayan your character is best defined by um, defined by how you treat the person who are lower to you. Mo nang maaya nuai nung zok te treat dana che emo nuai nung katikanin be it in the field of your work or hemi or be it in the social form kan ni tin nun shima po kay ni aya nuai nunga kan ngai zok te kan biak dana le emo ka na tho na po ka ayan nuai nung zok te ka biak dan yan kami zia tilang ante china chu apoy mo me mani hi atak tak ka kan ti lan hi angai ani superior positions ilaw ni ta and na superior position na ilaw om ta is subordinated ka ordering nga iti reng chuan an ngei ngotang che mo an ngei don che ni chu because being a human being each and every one of us is valuable enough mo and we are worth enough to be taken good care of kay mani shim hi machine kan niya kan lo pian chwa tok to hianin machine aha kan lo pian chwa to hian kan lu mani di hi kan shat angaya chu good communication nei tur chon chu top priority ya kay ma chuang kadani midang te din mun hi kan shat thiam angaya machine ani na nga za na kan lan tir hian communication chatak kan nei ngal ani chuan mas inza na hun kan lantir na te oma ordering kan pe hun te po om ve turani mas chu tiang chu tam taka ani mialo in experience vm kaselawa if you experience in soive tiang chumo set box anga te chante chu inva bia office te inva dora lo richot chota in shemia alo mase khata khan inga tinge good personality nei lo ti na ngala ni chu chong communication ing tin nge nei chatte lulang mo sumdong tana tumur te ka en melo mo katiang ang zel khan ka kan shat angani from higher to lower level office in vakala soile soi no an lo rak tuar chuwa mo cha ingtin nge in shat ang ka office kal phung ka pakhat ma in shelowa an ha thok te khan in patiently an lo shil zok tur chuni chuti chung puwa in lo har zo lo ani chuan an lo vin do chuni pon mi sheng an nia kala shathiam masa chu tiang ang ni lo chu atamang inexperience ve to me the I do not know mo aniam do you experience it huh yes or no Jutsu, all right. And Potsuloni said, like from yes, so most of you have experienced it, I guess. So levels of authority aka adangani, and this is an example of downward communication. Kanti so downward communication to superior in aayan mo nung zokte avabiag dan ava communicate dan akani. Mo ma sa manner and etiquette kala umle fika uh, experience ma ni he Jessica chuan experience ma ro ka tong na sa nyang ka khongai khop me azia lo ka ti le mai chu nang chuan ni experience Jessica chu mi experience chu mi danga apply reng so a she zia kha isya a mom I khan te po atla me thea I mi tui te po nam chuak chak me thea ka shelowa I thinri ma han chung chak chang te po khan ve ni ma se eng po chulo ni se kha zok kami kan experience aka midang bula ti lovin zirtir tuwa kan tranzok angai ni he John, please do not forget that you are worth enough to be taken good care of. Tika in lue memani tika siya ula zalo ta kami biak may turin ni lo ti siya ula tin midang ngay po ngay po ka cheve tak po kan lo ni thea ma se an chung te tan chuan an line an hai tan chuan mi hlu em an ni ti kha tin mi pa ngai tan chuan in nge treatment hi kan nei thata ngai ni ti chuan tu na hian for an example superiority level a kalo om ta in order to be a good nge nya in order to be a good superior in yeka you should know how to take in care of your subordinates in tin nge iti ta kang nang kha kha tiro iti tok tok don nge enga tinge vo ini local tai le ti ang chin I how reng don nge mo cold shoulder rakha cold face akha ipereng donem ipek reng don chuanin do you think that they will work perfect for you mo in ringem khakhatiro iti renga chongkam chu ai chan inti ngei lo ti ta kan I local theimo tukin te mo tukin I local theimo I subordinate he I lo ti thei tu iti thei ti ka sha a lo ti ta che mo chanin chu a product tur chu ni chu tiang khatyang chuan chuan ani lo pon thil try is subordinate ten thil try an lo ti ni chon rewarding step op pek ven ngai ni chongkam verbally na mo through gifts inamo kan lo pek ve ten ngai thin ta ni antina na ka student te tundin huna chang ka student in ni thowa ma sa distance ani wangin my real students te kha ingtin nge ka lo ka ti thin nga chuan test na te an lo ti cha a an lo lot lin chuan lom om ka ti thina chuan chongkam verbally en iwathiam ve mai son thenia o ti te mo chon lungai na te depression te tam takan ne ya ka chau ti ve chang ten lo ne ya must you are strong enough there are plenty and plenty of other students who are experiencing the things which is worse than you are experiencing nang ina I-experience aya rap tha ka te kha experience an amasin nang chu ilewan nei lutuk ti ang che in fui thar nai mo nang chu ti trasia te chocolate sweet in pek chang te kha lo om ve chen ni chu zong zong chu self talk motivation ni oi ithiam lo da ni kan zinga hian fanei to kan om mem ka shelowa in fa te in lo nei to chan pe chu kan nei lowa na se kan zinga khan kan lo om ani pon emo kan uf now fa te pon lo om ani pon lekhan lo zirta iwat hiam thei lo tak oi ingong vek to inti lo hian ithia iwa hei hi ilo thiam reng ani mo karina ni wa lo thiam tak hei po hi han ti le la I thei le nge yang chu tiang ang chia self motivation na chu kanin pek angai ti khani downward lo chin chaula downward communication chu enge ni downward communication na chuan superior ten an hnuai hnunga mi te an biak dana kha downward communication chuni manner and etiquette kan zir ngala ni rungot me tiro manner and etiquette kan zir ngala ani chu there are also like occasions when communication flows from a subordinate or subordinates to a higher authority noi hnung zo kami ten a chunglam zo kami ten lo biak ngai ve thin bok it may be a kind of a report kapu hi signature ngai kapu helai hi gatekeeper khalo ni ta se kan gate hi dar chu ti za ta chanin kalte hun to nga suggestion sang chi te or opinion ang ve engtin nge yang security chung chang a hian engen yang nge dan eng tiang kong hoi zong nge convent that thiang ti ang chia te po opinion I cho theya or a kind of charter or demands from the workers itself mo chu tiang huna chuan we call this upward communications kan ti ta ne chu an hnuai nung zok ten an pu te an va biak dana kha an pu an pi an va biak dana kha upwards communication what will be horizontal ti kha angai le bokta nga vertical chu a chho zong a kha mo downward kha chu superior atanga anwai lamte chuan upward or vertical kan tia chuan anwai ten an pu te an va biak dana te so kha khani tani ti chuanin same management level mo to your colleagues mo in ang chi ang kha horizontal or lateral communication continue horizontal le lateral communications ka ain ang renga chu same level entina na ka colleague ta ka chu ka same level te an lo ni ta ka workers ang chi te ka bulami ang chi te katiang ang chi kha horizontal ang chu ni chen in karte kha communication kan ne chon we call it as the horizontal or lateral communications continue chiang tura ka ngai ti chuan in like hey company ang zong in han suita ila there has been a kind of communication which is run between the manager production manager marketing manager ten lo o mga ngin yang production manager ten lo o mga kang zong ho kha same level an ni pakhat ka production ani wang han awan noi nung lowa pakhat ka marketing division na wa oma wang khan awan noi nung ati na po ni chong lowa kang zong kha ngin yang horizontal communication a chuan om thiang chu mo chanin I chu chiang huna chuan what kind of things that they do exchange ang chingi an in exchange a chuan they used to exchange their ideas a kind of their informations a kind of opinions or seeking clarifications etc or between personnel of the same rank ang khanim some kind of level head discussions ang chite kha alo thei ani khazonga khan ti kha chiang le is it clear enough again up to that much kami chi na khan lo chiang lem chon ka soi rang lu tuk pe chon a fu lo wa ka lo ang lo le chu ngai ni very good in lo man tura ka nga ya thank you so much so I will continue again can continue le ang tura chon formal and informal communication mo ingi ni chon kan zir voina hian point mo do exam na lo chak thei kan van zir nem ta em pakhat na chon what are the elements of communications mo what is communications and mentions what are the mention the elements of communications the ang ten a local theta so what is the meaning of barriers to communication and can you tell me the factors of barriers to communication sang pon a local theta we question pathum kan chang hal theto pot and another one inge kan char le thea chon what do you understand by upward downward and horizontal communications kan chang thei thapang tru exam na local se enton enton chu at chi hian a chi lo ta mania produce thiam tur ani ta kan thiamang tro kan nu na communication hi chu machine nu na atak taka kan nun puyangai kan chang thei to ngem khang ho kha exam na kala chiang lawang in ti chon I will go back again mase in chiang do na nei chon I will go to formal and informal communication thiam veang very good in thiam don chiang in thiam na sa don so all right ke min malama khan kalau chok chok malama kalau chong chok to boka chu wang chanin chok malama kalau chong chok to wang tui ka in zo zo moi chia lo ma se I hope you could understand me okay te chuan he kan tam ve chho tial tiala I am so happy lo lut zes ula kan next sa class kan nei le kuna po mo all right formal and informal communication at yang hal to pe hian ka siya formal le informal ang chi ang khan chuan like at the workplace kan workplace anga te like these two terms are used in a slightly different sense anga hian kan lo mang so mo chani like then what we generally understand by them kan shat ang hi workplace anga hian in formal and informal angka communication like which is done through the chain of command is known as formal communication a committee ang chi song ang chi te ka chain of engin yang general engin yang chain of command ang chi om na chi shimaka we called it as a kind of formal organization kantiang chi or formal communications kantiang chi chu lo ni tamay tani and like it involves like a transmission of official message in the formal organization structure. Hey, sarkar office building nga le kapoy mo kanin thon ko lang chite ka formal communication kantiang chu alaw ni tamay tani. So anin for formal communication ang so ni tamita mase like it involves like the kind of transmission of to official messages like in the formal organization structure and such communication is planned and it was well established by management and clearly indicates a kind of hierarchical relationship which involves and these generally are in writing or in orders or like in the form of decisions or like in the form of instructions katyang kan alo chinani to formal communications kan titak inside the office wakat so anin file mang ang chite mo so written formation anit lang puchina so anin hierarchical order of management tung sang ang chite engkim may hi plan and establish ka an effect the trinity ordering ang chite decisions to take ang chi so ka in kim ka formula chuan everything has been planned kaka kan share tangai. So but informal communication chuan it doesn't follow through the official channels of communications, like for an example ka file pakate hi ti hyang kate don ta level headed they can at so just the hen kat yang at noi bera trangin as LDC ay mo ti kan lekha da ka kan va thak ta a receiver to assistant and low receive tanga assistant trangin superintendent na trangin joint director trangin directorate trangin secretariat katyang ang tap tapa akal kata alo suklya katyang ang chika we called it as a formal communications kan ti ta zinga mi pakat example tur chu kapek the chu anita ni. So what about informal mo informal chu enge ni tang informal to engen itaang. It doesn't like follow through the official channels of communication saka follow velowa. It involves like the spontaneous expression of reactions and of your ideas ang tite, and is usually done orally in mo trong ka in so entena na thotur ka lo omta is superior point o ka kanang lo ti ta che lo ilo su thezok ang ilo tai thezok em ti khan kadita formal chulo ni don ta say you are appointed as ti ang chi khan kan ja thap thap ve kha ngai thita ni so ma say informal a chan to make a good working environment orally kan man chan kha alo om ve ngai thina so tiang so informal communication so ni like it involves a kind of the spontaneous expression of reactions and ideas, and is usually, let me repeat that, done by orally or done through orally, and hence it may carry complete or incorrect information. Te po kalom te ni o mizo to mizo a kanlo ni le peka mizo fiam to nga veng lua veng monga voicho veng lua chan ekin a thang te kan lo ti to china so wan chan a chain a ka a du thu chu sam cha lo written formation a hanam to lo pe pe chu a kal kwal sa chain to ni chu a toy zong in chatterbox me chau hi chatterbox kha kan lo ni do me thia ma se kha mi na kha chu pe kha te bu kha a stigmatize na ka han pe tum tai la me cha ni warung ta mi rel tura om ngalang chi kha chu kan ni big lo ti kha shata ila ke chuan like for an example may se pakadalaw lenga example a informal chuan alenga ka akal ato pato pa chuan aleng satlia tolo e palo fan to de me theni khatiang ang chi misinformation om chi anga kha chuan hei tun lai a phei chuan an example nai vai tur a phei chuan mi zongat phei chu thil shema sani hi kan chak riau yan ka sha whether that is true informations or not true information ani nge ni lo po she lo yan message ang chi te whatsapp ang ate mo de kan pas zung china kan the vak china kan pe vak china afu lo ani mo kha news a khati kan the china chuan ta chuan misinformation tam tak alo ta china shema satu ni ai chuan thu kha adikem ti kha Socrates tur fing te po kan shat ka be se ya Socrates chuan itu sa ito ka adikem ti ka ngai to ma sa chinla itana chatur ani em itan acha em ti ka she chin bokla ti le pakata khala soi chung ho wa chu kan shat angai ni kan thu soya kha adik chon chu hey communication process a hyang kan shat nge ngai so one chon informal communication sa chon there has been a kind of presentations of false informations as well tika kan shat angai ni so like the words formal and informal are used to indicate like a change in form and languages of communications according to change in relationship between the addresser and of the addressee and the context or with the context of the questions or the situation. And for an example, like you will use informal language while talking to your brother at home or while talking to your brother your sister at home and while talking to your friends in some social gatherings and but if your brother also happens to be your boss for an example in office and like a formal meeting it is going on in the office you will address him in a different way like it's an informal style more so the institution where I work some of my relatives has been attending it from my side of the example. So at home, I am their auntie. at home at an auntie kakania, but at the institution I am there, and Miss kakani nito. So they never call me anu te minting I lo nito at in the college ang atuan. Kaka apoy mo me man informally I am their auntie, and but formally I am their miss. Kati kalay ka a difference sa ka-inlaw siya tiyamang tumo. Do you understand it? Formal and informal ka? Hmm? Are you still there? We still have plenty of time. Are you still there? Yes, Shatyam. Very good. I got the feedback again, Shatyam. Jiang, thank you. So, if we do understand it, if the question asks you differentiate between formal and informal communication, will you be able to understand it? Will you be able to write it out? If the question asks you formal and informal, write the difference between formal and informal communication. Di kalau sakse intiam mal to tura ka ngai. Thank you so much. All right. So I will move on to another topic again, that is written and oral communication. Tuna han inge ka man meke. Communication nang ninyan kanay puy mek tsewa inge ka man meke. Is it an oral communication or is it a written communication? Just to refreshen up your mind. Oral. Thank you so much. Oral. Oral kan mang omza chu chong ka ka mang intiam lutok mo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback. And John, when we speak of language as a tool of communication, we mean both spoken and written forms of the language. Mom, when we speak the language as a tool for communication, communication kantihan chong kam kapang katihan chong kapang katihan spoken asoy asoy tak tak orally ka atrangat swakle written formation na hi omveni. Like both these modes can be used for communications. More written formation ale oral communication nakakan mangtay veveni zuka oral formation nakakapangtay veveni zo like while they perform the same function atuma katsuin ang renga mi communicate kanimaya, but their form and manner of use differ in many respects mo ay manda ka process ka ay nang lawani. And for an example, one makes use of sounds other of symbols, and the speaker has available to him or her the full range of voice quality effects as well as facial expressions like postural and like gestural system. But these paralinguistic features are denied to the writer. Mo tuna chan hey, let me just explain it to you again in Mizo language. Like tuna chan hey karon bezo zo tsawa minlo moteya kakut ka parlaite emo the movement of my facial expressions zong zong ateka inlo movek tane. Tsutsu oral transmission lut na chu ni tane itinerary point, you can show it through your face by raising your voice also. You already been chot atang in itinerary mo ilungaya mo di ka kalau siya theta or kamit me nga changin ka itinerary nge kalung oilo nge kalungay nge po inlo siya theta kechuka klemin kamuda uitwan kamuda ka thu vet chanin kakal chak ni ka chule let yam lo ka ve sak me ni likewise people will be able to understand through my accents that what I am imposing mo ka thiner itinerary ai thinrim lo ve ti la mai san chun si lang min lo on lu ka ratan chan ka communicate pui tan chang ka lunga lo oi lo ti ka ashe the do ni, but all those kinds of factors have been denied for the written communication at chan at hey lo reng kakatso at hinarim lo to kati ba ka zia tur ka chuang lo a mela dur khui at ya azia sakhan ngai ta ne so ma se oral communications chat em to atak khan kan vain mal top ani so mo direct kanin mal top tani chu alut na ani so ma se written communication chat na mama because orally at so what we say is getting inside this one, and then it's going out again this side. I can't actually chinabangin. So we tend to forget things easily. Mo til ka I kan theng hil tak zung zung chinabang kan. Til kan theng hil tak zung zung chinabang ha ma se written alone ito chan om renga du hun kuna. The proof na ta na yan or ati reng khati ang chi ka pomom lo written alone yan at change. So a lot nine and lot na te po anyang. So this one in and then the writer, like on the other hand, has like typographical variety at his disposal. Akane veta trong kam shang shang mantur akane veta. Like the speaker is face to face with the hearer, while the writer writes for an absent reader who may also be far away in space and time. Mo thon thu te in cherta ashat ngai reng lo ne na kan writer chuan in thu ba soi jok thina speaker ke ni speaker kan tiang chi trong ka soi chuan min lo ngai thatu kha benga min lo ngai thatu kha alo nei ta thung thina kha kha andang lam na ani. So, like these different features have their own advantages and, of course, their disadvantages as well as disadvantages. Kanavia, like in oral, so the exam na lo zo le paltak so win. Like what is the advantages and disadvantages of the oral communications, or what will be the right different points of the disadvantages and advantages of the written communications. Tite kan question ka local table. So, oral communication at on what is the advantages? More advantages ka oral communication at on yang. Like in oral communication, the speaker, like being face to face with the hearer, can monitor and match the reactions of the hearer, and at the same time, she can simultaneously plan his her next utterances and fit in the overall pattern of what he or she wants to say. Mo as to say to ka and then whether the listener is interested or not, tunahan point liber to barriers ding meaning. So since I cannot see you, a min lo ning ruto may thea tunahan because the time taken has been so long. Meaning mas min ning ning lo kakaron mo si loa. So I need to go as planned. Kaka plan ang kang kakalangay the train tani. So mas face to face tan hanin mo ilang chan. In meda chang khan in muta chuak to ti emo in ngwai to emo ti kha ka lo she the do nga break ka pelo kang chu ti te kha alo the don ta ni chu masa since this is a virtual ngin yang since it's a virtual communications ka zong zong ka it doesn't permit us min permit book si lo so I have already spoken to you for 1 hour, more than 1 hour ka trong to chuan in lo ning to ang ti ka ring in beng te polo kamang ma se. So I am giving you one example. Since I cannot see you, I just presume that you will be listening to me carefully. Kalau presume very nga ta su in lo nga sa chaang ti sa wakanin. So face to face orally yan in bethe tangat ilang chuan turahan I break up bethe to ang chu emo tui in en han solok to uti emo ka kanei thei don ani chu in sha thiam em ka lo chol ro ti kha ka lo sei thei don ani chu chuanin emo if you are interested or not um itui to lo nge ining to nge afang khan ka tu soi hi to pa hun to ti ang chi te kha ka lo soi don ta ni chuan inin beta a itong chara pakhatin phone khoi san char chuanin stop talking angai tha to lo itong khan zia nei to lo mo chu oral communication chat na ani chuan at the same time John Kaka Alonita, she or he or must also keep on talking during the period allotted to him or her, and she might decide when to take his her turn, how to interrupt his her listeners or interlocutors, how to hand over the turn. In fact, she must be in command of the conversational and skills, etc., etc. And she has a kind of certain advantages as well and disadvantages and advantages as well as he can observe his or interlocutors amalungai sa tuteka alo mureng teboka and if necessary modify what he is saying mo a situation na zero kan atusuya ka a modify tebok tani so on the spot and like oral communication is like it's more quicker arang zogboka and more economical and more effective than written communication mle khapuan kan mamol wa ka ka she se chat sia khangaya ka changa to sayri ka chwa the chung chan, that means that I can always use a oral communication sa kakamang the di ka chiang ani. Economically pona save zo because we do not need to use a pan, or we do not need to use the light, and we do not need to use the what lekha po nang chite ka kanman ka angay law tani mom. So, as I have said, that it's more quicker and it's more economical and it's more effective than the written communication. And doubts and misunderstanding can be cleared on the spot as immediate reactions and responses is available. As long as responses is available, kang how the poka kan shed ang and there are variation in spoken languages also, in the way it is delivered. The way you deliver it is very very important. uh, uh, mm, and these could be on account of geographical or social and cultural differences also, there are dialectical differences mo kan chong kam man in ang lo shim shim te lo o ma accent differences chim le mar sak le thanga po kan man hi ain ang lo mma ta chuanin I aizo ko pui chu nga po kan mizo tong mang chou chou kan thluak ain ang lo ani. And chuanin accent differences sa khalo oma chuan on sak le zuat. Sorry for the interruption. Chuanin alum lu tuka even min lo on sak do na ni hi. Chan ti khan chuanin alum ka ti to lawang ka be say, but I hope that my voice is not sway away. Ka fan on wang hanin ka ori hi sway lo sham ka be say ya. So, due to the fact that there has been a kind of paralinguistic features and body language has been to be used, speech is less organized than written languages, and it contain many incomplete sentences. Mom, im kan murang chan khalo keng te kha kan te rungot thei ta ni chu khalo keng te ka ti kan example written communication a khalo keng te ti hi ti rungot tai la eng khange lo keng te ka ti kha shelawa to na chan hi water bottle kabula oma you water bottle ka min lo pe te ti khir kha ngai lo kha min lo mu to tan chan kha it's there has been a kind of fragments in a oral communication at some fragments kha oma at ngen yang soi fil fia fai fak ka angai lem thin lo ani chu ma chuanin it's one in it is also affected by the attitude and personality and self-interest, beliefs and values and prejudices of the sender as well as the receiver, and also the time and circumstances of the communications as well. Communication ni don't tell you sobro maya kan ni don't know kaka chiang reng boka kami ngei tak tanin kanin ti ti tlan ka har sa ang kan ngai na tak tanin chuan ti ti ka ang luang mayang ka tiang chi te ka umbe. So oral communication is also not suitable for lengthy messages. Oi, lengthy messages kati chu thon thu bua chuanin you might have written around 1,100 pages sang si te polo am ta sa itia nga chu tiang ang chen chen zan kwa trong tur chuan it's impossible. Mo tuna po hianin I have been talking for continually for more than 1 hour at so thak to ni chu in kaka to oral communication ete katyang chat talk lo na zinga the disadvantages of oral communication kan ter ngal theng chu mo this one in and then for the oral communications we could not talk to some people who are in distance and widely scattered people must say so no to atak tak life in kanin betelo mi sak shamika, but fortunately with the introduction of these electronic devices tunahan hun shang isolamite isolamite tikan mun khata kan lo in bethe to ama se fam kim talo barrier om ti chu kan zer to kha khan in chiang le vezelem ti khan in advantage and disadvantage of oral communication so in sheta em kan shi chiang to em. All right, so can I go on? Can I go on? All right, all right, all right. Okay, disadvantage like I also is out here. Disadvantage like to yes, yes. Kalau sa izawang. Disadvantage thầy chụp. Tu na hani oral communication. Yes. Ole, kalau siya. Oh, lang ay sa taula. Disadvantage laya chuan tihang kate tu na yan example la tangin ka peng chunga chiang berang chu physical health nei chakka poi mol tu kani thui tak trong tur chuan thil theilo to pani oral communication sa chuan lekha bu khat dai kha trong har em ani thon thu bu I chiar khan pek zanga le ti te sang le ti te po I hmu anga khami dai a khat trong char char chu har takani chonga chuan mo lengthy conversation a khan nei har chen chuan tuna ka soi tong han tuna po he dar kar khat chuang so loving ka trong ta a ka chau tan ta der me ni chu to ina mo ka chau chan ta ka ngwai chan deuh to ta ka shok te lo na chana tui ka insect ta in tan po mu nuam kha ka lo ni to lo ta nei chu disadvantage pakhat na chuan oral communication chuan tun hi chu hei virtually in kan om ta a complete engin yang virtually kan oma wanghian barriers of communications ka aron ngal chat ta ma se tuna ka soya hian effective communication sa ka atel zel ti hi shetaila mo effective communication hi tel zel ti shetaila ma se tunan oral communication ni turan khoi khwa angin ka shelova tuna aizola ka oma aizola changkhan entina na longklaya mi te sai ha ami te vaireng te mi te ma mi te kha virtual hi omlo ta sa ka bethelo shimani cho in che tiamem ka bethelo shim it's completely impossible so the range or the people that it touch is limited in che tiamem oral communication sa chon limitations sa mase written communication a chon ithuzia ka thon kwal char char ta la khovel mi zong ponan chiar thei so a disadvantage na lai oral communication so ani so in che tiamem in che tiamem chuan like ngen yang like adang le chu pakhat khalo ni le bokta sela ti chuanin uh, chuanin adang le chuanin engtin ya kate ang oral communication a chuan chu a wide range kha a fello watin a kun chunga kha a rei theilo boka tin engen yang misunderstanding amo khatyang aka kha atamdu em boka ma se chu advantage na lai nei le ta face to face I sender tanen I receiver tanen khanin doubts clear kha alo all some vele zel boka kha kha lela ma advantage na nya disadvantage na po omle ngaya nga lang chu mo chon trong hi chu modified form kha alo har to china o ka ti pa ti kha chu om ta china a englowa chon written form khan chon izia to kha chu om reng ta china chu chuanin nge ati nge china chong chu o asoi kha kantia asoi tak tak la kha approve na tu na voice recorder te lo om lo phe chan asoi nge soi lo ti po kan shelova chu wan chan thil tak tak proof na ta na ahman tlak lo ngal ti kha shebok tai la ti khanin achiang mo chiang achiang tora chom ka ngaya ti chon ma se atang kai ve na kha atang kai na advantage cha chan chon welcome chon in atang kai ve na chon arang bi ka ni chu mo lekha ka in thon tai la ka no pan la ya khan ka ri ruwa ala cham reng chin thingtang nau pang lekha kan han zira ti chon in enge chung ta ne na kan du song ta kan han cha via result te kha kan han shil ve do na kan result shil don po khanin kar ni thum te kha letter kha athang kha lo ngai ta almost one month te kha thang kha lo ngai ta chuanin emo kan chak zong te po kha cha ila a thlen chung kha re the ema chak po kan lo chak le man to lo china khatiang ang khanya ma se oral chuanin ingkima kha a chak mo at saka so economical boka time consuming lo boka kaka written communication aya achat na chuning so doubts and misunderstanding te polo amta se engtin nge ni kha hantia hanin zo hanin biak ngal mei te kha alo ol samta kha tu na po ka thu se example hi changal top stop zel communication kan zir boka doubt in lo ni ta disadvantage kami skala sha tiam lo min han shilte inrod dita on the spot a correction karon siam halta karon soifia chi takngalta khata ka oral communication advantage na chuni tane written chuni ta se kanne na letter in lo zia mo ingtine mo kana lo nga yang chan kalo mu meu chan 2 to 3 weeks te kalo nya nga karon chan le chung chu nen chanin ka shil chu pongai lo nin lo shevek man to in ka ring ka arang dai zok khalai ka time consuming lo zok bok mo clear and doubts kan ngen yang doubts kan ne ang chite misunderstanding misconception kan ne zong song te kami clear nan kan all some big ani so ti chuan hei hi ka soi zo lok anga chuanin ka ka du tok ka ngoro kala du tok ri lawang kala uidel inning to em yes or no in mobile phone te alo sa to lu to kem all right kani chuan kala continue ang like variation like in spoken languages and also in the way thank you minlo ninglo sham shama thank you there are like a variation in spoken languages and also in the way it is delivered mom this could be on account of geographical or like a social and cultural differences te po kalo umbetia dialectical differences te ka umtia chu ka soito ang kan hito po hi disadvantage zinga kan kan latil the zelang chu accent differences te kalo thia chu wangson misconception lo ve the ni misunderstanding lo ve the ta ni chu wangchan in kha kan thin lunga kan sha ta ngai entina na mana marpale chimpa khwalzinan kaldu na chan chon chon han e do na ta chon champa na nge ito me ai lo pai le atia pakhatin manta tia chanin pakhatin nge te bokbo na tia avatui do ne nge pa ang od anhan para mas alowin ang reng ti kha mo so dialectical differences te ka alo thea kami wang tak khanin heta barriers zinga te tia communication process hi a disadvantage lai chu ani vele thei ka ti come on so similarly, the written mode gives like the writer certain advantages as well. Written form yan, reader tetan emo apuy amipui tetan kanin til chakaron as well as disadvantages of the speaker. Like since the writer is writing for an absent reader kanit tata ava address at the kashelawa. So he or she may look over, reflect and edit what she had already written. At sa ito, saka soy non palteni so with no fear of being interrupted by his or interlocutor. Asoy non tiya ron nyal kal tutur kan am to boksilo kalay ka isoy i-repeat jinglu tuk ti tutur kan anay to boksilo. So a disadvantage na law ni halta sa written communication too. Or he she can take his her own time in choosing a particular word po kun mase achat vene so a hun man to a situation na zirkan zan khat pa wat pakhat mang tur kana ngai to thei boka and even looking it up in the dictionary a meaning ka shilo ta se chu oral la chan thei lo top a meaning ka ishad lo chan oi ka shilo mo nu iliam satya ringot ka alo ngai don ta ni chu mo ma se azak don chan hun tam takaka anei ta ne chu and if necessary recorder what he has written and even changes her mind about what he has been to say atu soi tu ra ka oi ka soi zo vek to ti lam ni lo khan a publicize ma lo kha chu du kan athak ve theya I edit thei ta ni chu achat na this one in or she if she is under pressure to keep on writing she can even destroy what she has written and throw it into the dustbin without the fear of offending the reader mo at certo ten an lo ngay palang ti hlaw tu melo kan like as kitsu ka dule lo din apay pop table ka mase orala kan chon ka soito ka chu ka soito tlatani mo ka soi kanit lat mase ka written how one ni na chu do in editing ka anti-quality ni. And like say writer disadvantage ka inge ni beta. he or she no access to immediate feedback akan hu thei lo ngal phota immediate hey nang ni chu tu na immediately in written form hang tho ma ila I engen yang virtually kan in biak me ka wang khan direct deuh khan ti khanin kanin beta char chara ti chuanin I athange thalo ti ti khanin kan loin beta char chara ti chuan alo nuama direct feedback ka lo dong ta ti chuan nang ni po in zo na te kha direct in feedback in lo dong le thei ve ta ma se all those kinds of things are absent in the written formation mom feedback ka amuang ta dai ani che ti chuan he could not see the image or the reader's reactions. Reactions saka face to face in ahmuthelo boka oy amit tuelo ta suam suam nge kil khata lekhabut char pa in napsut sha in ale khabu khalo ngai thatui nge po shelowa nge ne ui nge inom lo zia le thiam lo zia chu lo ti nge po shelo mo so kha a disadvantage na lai ni ve bokta and this non like it's a non-reciprocal natures of written communication it makes it more difficult to learn Shatyam, harani. And plus since he doesn't know who the reader will be and he doesn't know who will be the listener of his written words saka angay tutur asya tatlo wang khan abuay thak mo eng ange achang nge chalawang novel writers ni pechuanin ni ahar sa right may doon ni chu kale kabuhi shagat langin mati angay don tani chu it's on but written communication ensures like a kind of transmission of information in a uniform manner, and there is little risk of unauthorized like alteration in the message. Mo, uh, since it is put in black and white, it provides like a permanent record for the future references also. Mo hey, white paper aduming kan han chut tat tat ta so wang chan in white paper kan su thak to tak tak phe kha chu ting ina to lo about he kha to lo ma se tu na hian in ko ri hi in lo record lo phe chan in ka thu soi zong zong ka boral ngal to kha ani me ya ma se written ani chan chia tur kha lo mo written communication tends to complete precise and unambiguous and the message can be repeated at a regular intervals and lengthy messages can be sent to widely scattered readers mo mun shang shang akan alo char tu tu ka oma se ile khabon le chung chuan ithu zia kha message sa a phone a mu chung chuan alo chia reng don ni but written communication is time consuming ani thung ta ne so mo tu na ka thu sei zong zong hi type don ni la kala type man lo reng reng and expensive and rigid, and it becomes difficult to maintain a kind of secrecy. Mo, secrecy kakip telo ni. Antena na retention ni ta sila chuar tu ra ka du mia daw te pon ka thuzia ka anlo char don ti na khanita mase oral ani khan chanen it's shatura ka du cha ka shil ser me don ni chumo a whispering ka nei the don ta ti na niya mase written ai ro khan chanen secret to kin ka thon poti ma ila nge lo thlo pal tai la min an shevek don chulaya chu secrecy ka umlo ani chu tikan ani le tikan in written formation le written communication le um, written communication le uh, oral communication advantage le disadvantage ka exam na lo sok sen thiam don so itur tamra thak shia in yang lo em in shethiam don em in zak the don em zak the don mom like at the workplace, face to face and telephone communication are generally confirmed in writing by post or email, like particularly when the communication is with the well of sight. And thank you so much. Exactly. Why do you think it is necessary to do so? Written information here. Discuss you have to discuss among your friends also. Or to me also you can we can always discuss about this more why is it important to write a letter or uh, why is it important to have a kind of an oral communications Katya, you can discuss among your friends and you can always discuss it to me as well mo ka zong teka kabula insoi thia in chante ne mo in chung te nen te po in trong ka soi rungot ai chuan engin yang trong ka ma phone in shil what I chuan mai chana ngei le ti te po mi zo tanga kan nei ta adang lam na khati khanin kan sha thei tura ka ngai mà sẽ khá lệ khá khá tuổi zong in thon thu cho nên urgency thil đâu khá lâu gam ta for an example trong ca trang chuan urgency khá local thoại thoại ro with all my intonations with all my accent with all the stress that I have given to the words, people or my listeners will understand that those things are really, really very urgent. Ika lo siya tayo doon ta. Aban urgent takti ka siya tayo doon ta. Masiriti na dyan, aman mo tlakop, may tiba ka kaum tayo doon eh. Mo ka adang lam na at hadlok na talay te po. So, kan siya zelang so. So, ikan intiang to em. Hazong ka. Katop to may doon em niyang. So, anin next sa kanin face-to-face interaction te po kan so yung ngay dan. Ngay, pakatula ka lero inti chuan. Kasoy chin chu intiang kalom le, may dal din mo yate, in mail te po mo te po tsakom, at yan zara kandam chuan, exam huna te po in mail te po kan huma na. Chuan, kami mali chak tite, mami ziri tite, Jessica tite, tekan ka, kan ang lo. Tunahan, inning to em, inning chuan kada toang, inning lo chuan, pakat chu, soy le sham, chu kala tsak viawa, mase soy zo vek hek sen chu ni chuang lo wa. Shall I stop? Kastopang. I will stop it here. I will stop it here. But before I completely end my class, or before I completely stop my class, let me just repeat it. That today we have learned the communication process, and in that, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So up to this much. I will stop it here, and then before I stop it, let me just go through it. Let me just summarize my lectures once again. Today we have learned the communication process, and I hope that you all are very clear about the meaning of communications. And then we come to the elements of communications, learning that communication is a two-way process, and the factors that are used in order to have a better communications also. And later on we come to the barriers of communications, where there has been some kind of mishaps which is happening, or a kind of our communication is being hampered by some activities or any kinds of things like our physical health or our environment, etc. So all those kinds of barriers of communication have been learned to you, and later on we also learn about the horizontal, downwards and upwards communications, and later on I did talks about the written communications and the oral communications, with their advantages and disadvantages again. That is what we can learn for today. We have learned about 5 points. Let us say five big points. And so in our next class, I will continue with the face-to-face communications. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, class, and I hope to see you all once again when we are allotted the time. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes. Uh, I am not quite sure about the questions you have asked me. One mark distribution assignment 50-50 veto. Needs one exam question, but any. So I think this is a new chapter, and so these things I am not so familiar with the questions pattern yet. And I do not know the assignment pattern as well, because I haven't seen how the question have been set. Question he answered dan hi kalam hutsi alawa chu wang chanin I kasoy kachangam chi alawani. Oh chu min lo sha thiamatan ka ngen zokani chu So I will end my class here. Thank you so much, class. Take good care. Have a nice time.